Hey guys, it's me Rebecca. So today I am here to give my August wrap up. I read 6 books in August. Some I enjoyed, some I just felt were fine. And I'm also going to mention one book I plan to read in September so far. I'm a bit of a mood reader in the sense I don't set a TBR for the entire month. I just pick up what looks interesting from my bookcase and yeah. Anyway, let's get started with the first book, which is The Goblin Emperor by Catherine Addison. I really enjoyed this. This is a book about this boy named Maya who unexpectedly becomes emperor after his brother and his older brothers die in this plane crash. And when I say unexpectedly, I mean he wasn't expected to be emperor whatsoever. He wasn't favored by his father at all. His father kept him at a very long distance, like kept him in this house in a town that's very far away from the kingdom, and Maya was never educated on how to be emperor. He was never educated on how he should speak to the people, speak in public or behave in public really. He's very ignorant about a lot of things, and he does say he is aware of how ignorant he is. I really like this in the sense that basically the entire book, you just see Maya struggling on trying to figure out how to handle himself in court, how to handle the fact his life just suddenly changed, because he doesn't really have allies in court. No one seems to be really helping him except his advisor, but he doesn't really have anyone to turn to ask for advice. And he also has these people who are against him, who don't want him in a seat as emperor, who try to make things more difficult, who even try to overthrow him. So yeah, I did really enjoy my time reading this, and I ended up giving this a 4 stars. Second book I read was 84 Charring Crossword by Helene Hennef. This is really a short correspondence, like a collection of letters between Helene and Frank, the owner of this bookstore in London. She is a writer living in New York, and he lives in London. And she is trying to get books from him, like a normal deal sort of situation. And yeah, I just love this, her talking about books, her talking about what upsets her in literature, what she likes reading about, and just her life as a struggling writer. I just found that, because in struggling in a sense, she's struggling to really get a job as a writer, I guess a TV writer, I think it is. Yeah, and this broke my heart a bit in a sense. They were always like, oh, I can't wait to go to the shop, I can't wait to meet in person. And yet they are never able to do so, because Frank, that bookstore owner, he dies before she's able to do that. And I think the bookstore closed before she was able to go there and see it. Yeah. And it's not only between her and Frank, it's also the other employees in the bookstore, and it's this really, really beautiful family they create. And I just really enjoyed it. So yeah, I gave this a 5 stars. Book number 3 was The Sentence by Louise Erdrich. This is about this woman who works in this bookstore, who thinks she's being haunted by the bookstore's, I guess, most annoying customer who suddenly dies. It does take place from November 2019 till November 2020, and it does cover the beginning of the COVID pandemic, and I really liked reading this. It was interesting to see the very beginning of the COVID pandemic here in the US, in the sense of how we were just so unaware of what we had to do, of what this virus is, how we can deal with it, what we can do to protect ourselves. It's interesting seeing how unaware we were in the beginning. In a sense, like, we're out of that now, basically. We know what this is, we know how to protect ourselves from it, we somehow know what this virus is, I think. But it's also, it was just really interesting seeing this, how unaware we were. And it also explores aspects of Native American culture, which I found interesting, because this is also the first book I've read where that culture was explored in. So it was interesting seeing some insights on that. And I gave that 4 stars. Next book was The Ladies of the Secret Circus by Constance Sayers. This is 2 timelines. The first is Paris 1925. This woman named Cecilia, who works in her family circus as, I think, a trapeze artist. And she's content with her life in the circus until she meets this artist. And then we see Virginia in 2004, where another character, Laura, her fiance abandons her on their wedding day, and it's interesting seeing the connection between the 2 women and seeing the connection of this circus that is a bit weird in the sense no one is really able to take a picture of Cecilia or a relative of hers. And there's the mystery behind the circus in the sense that there's no like physical location for it, but yet people know of its existence. Like, it was a really interesting book. I had a lot of fun reading it. And yeah, I just really enjoyed my time with it. I gave it 4 stars. Next book is Never Let Me Go by Cashew Ishiguro. This is about 3 people, Kathy, Ruth, and Tommy, who we mainly follow Kathy, and it kind of is, she kind of jumps around in her timeline. It's not very linear, like she goes back and forth a lot, and it's just like about them growing up, and yeah. I don't know, they are clones. They were created to do donations, to donate organs, and when they donate a certain amount of organs, they complete. And with that review, you can tell my feelings of this book. I felt this book was fine, mainly. I understand why we weren't given more information about the whole clone thing, because Kathy, she was kept in the dark about it by her teachers at the school, her guardians, I guess you could say, who didn't want the students to grow up just thinking, oh, they are only to serve one purpose, they're only clones, and that's it. Like, yeah. So I kind of wish there was more exploration on the whole clone thing, because there's some explanation in the very end, but it just felt like, I don't know, I just wasn't satisfied, and I wish there was more information on the whole clone thing, because it just felt like I was just following the lives of these 3 people, and it wasn't really interesting to me. Like, if it wasn't for the fact every now and then they would bring up the fact they had to do donations, I would forget they are clowns. So yeah, I'm gonna give this 3 stars. It felt very flat for me. I would read more by Cashew Ishiguro, as I did like the writing, but this wasn't a book for me, sadly. The last book I read in August was The World We Make by N.K. Jemisin. This one, I'm not sure what I can say about this book, as it is the sequel to The City We Became by this author. What I can say is this takes place a few months after the events of the previous book, and it's them, the avatars, and still trying to deal with the enemy, the woman in white, while dealing with their own issues, or I guess other like racist people who are being controlled by the woman in white, the enemy, I guess. And they are trying to get the other cities to help them, but the other cities just don't really want to. They just don't want to admit that there's this problem, and yeah. And I did like the ending, and I was kind of worried on how the series would go, as I think N.K. Jemisin did mention in her author's note or acknowledgements that she kind of was losing the creative energy to write this series, because initially it was supposed to be a trilogy, but she turned it into a duology. I was a bit worried for that, if you could tell she was losing it, but I don't know, I don't think you could really tell. No, I did really like this book, and I gave it 4 stars. And yeah, that's all I read in August. The one book I plan to read in September so far is Wayward by Amelia Hart, which follows these 3 women in very different time periods, and I think the one thing that connects them is familial stuff. And yeah, I think they all go to this like cottage somewhere in England, and there's some magic involved. I'm not entirely sure. I am excited to get into this book. Yeah. And everything else I read in September will be in my September wrap-up. So yeah, that's all for this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment below telling me what you've been reading recently. And if you want to, please subscribe to this channel. And if you want to follow me on any social media, then all those links are in the down bar below. I'll see you guys next time I post a video. Bye.